The only thing to be sure about conference play is to expect the unexpected. Friday night game, Colorado State handling Fresno State with ease. EJ Warner, 3 turnovers. The running game non existent for the Bulldogs. Meanwhile, Jackson Brassard had his best game yet as a starter. 3 passing touchdowns. The running game was really effective for the Rams. This game got out of hand early. The Rams go up 2 scores before uh, Fresno State would answer. By then, they would, the Rams would score again, and now they're down, 3 touchdowns. The Rams would go into halftime up, 14-35. In the second half, it just was not enough for Fresno State and their offense to get anything cooking. Fresno State cannot stop Colorado State's advances on the running game. Broussard was just calm and collected under center. Meanwhile, those pesky, turnovers that EJ Warner saw, in the beginning half of the season, they returned, and his last 2 drives ended in interception. Basically, iced it for the Bulldogs to get any chance at coming back into this game. The real difference in this was Fresno State. 13 penalties on this game, 4 turnovers. That's what did it in. 4 turnovers compared to the Rams, who played really effective football despite owning most of the possession. 34 minutes to Colorado State's 29 minutes. They got those inopportune interceptions that gave the Rams good field position, and they capitalized on it. Now Fresno State takes a step back. They're 5-2 on the season, 2-1 in conference play, and Colorado State. We thought they were sort of dead in the water. They're 2-4 in the season, 1-1 in conference play, and there's still a chance. A lot of talks of them going 8-4 to finish the season. I don't know about that, but definitely a good win against Fresno State. And now they have to be confident that they could take on these conference games just one by one. 49-21 is your final score. Colorado State over Fresno State. Did we really expect anything less from a game in Air Force taking on UNLV? A game that saw only 4 punts in its entirety. 3 of those came in the first quarter. Second quarter, they just start rolling, exchanging score after score. Continued in the second half. We knew Zarka was going to do his thing. Owen Allen had a great day. Allen put up 192 yards, 2 touchdowns. Zarka 136 yards, 2 touchdowns. Both of those running the ball. Zarka had another 175 yards and touchdown through the air. As for UNLV, it was really Calandra putting the team on his back. 20 for 32, 361 yards, a touchdown through the air. 62 yards rushing, another 2 rushing scores for Calandra. Jaden Thomas had 88 yards and a touchdown himself. Air Force would go into halftime with the lead. A stronger third quarter for the Rebels, and outscoring them in the fourth quarter as well. This was a game that was going back and forth, high scoring. 99 total points in this game. 6 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. It was really, being unable for the Rebels to stop the Falcons' running game, and UNLV answering it right back almost immediately on the next drives. Lead change after lead change. When Air Force took the lead, later in the fourth quarter, 48-44, there was a feeling that there was just enough time on the clock that Calandra and the Rebels were going to be able to engineer a perfect drive, and they did. Almost willing for the Falcons to score sooner so they could get some time left on the clock and they'd get a chance to take the late lead, which they did. 75 yards in 37 seconds. UNLV, takes the lead 51-48. Air Force, led by Zarka, were able to get them within field goal range, but a young sophomore kicker, with about 35-yard range, he just misses it wide right, and UNLV goes on 6-0 in the season, bowl eligible, 2-0 in Mountain West play. They scrape by another close game, and for Air Force, they go 1-5 on the season, but when you watch them play, they would not look like a 1-5 team. They just haven't been able to finish out, and that continues past week 7. 0-4 Mountain West play, but you have to, for the rest of their schedule, anyone they face, they're still the most dangerous team that they could take on. And for UNLV, now you have to imagine that they will be ranked next week and that they are a serious threat to be in the playoffs. We talked about UNLV being, a lot of talk of that their schedule isn't really indicative of uh, how good or how bad they are, but they get in those tough games and you can rely on them to finish them out and come out victorious. So Dan Mullen, 6-0 on the season, legitimate team, and as you look towards the rest of their schedule, you have to be confident that handle any team that they're facing. Final score in this one, 51-48, UNLV over Air Force. It's a game you had to see to believe. San Jose State starts off hot. They go into halftime 28-14, and Walker Eget and the Spartans' offense is rolling, and Kane Anderson and this Wyoming offense just seems like they can't get much going. It looks like the Cowboys really can't stop the explosiveness from San Jose State. They go into halftime. In second half, like I said, Wyoming is the best second half team in the Mountain West. Definitely one of the best teams in the country when it comes to coming out after halftime and making those adjustments and looking their best. Sure enough, they come out, they shut out San Jose State in the second half, while also putting up 21 points unanswered. And despite Caden Anderson throwing 2 picks in second half, San Jose State still couldn't capitalize on it, and Wyoming sneaks away a win against a San Jose State team who we thought was going to start really taking over this Mountain West play. Tyrone Kelman came up big in the later half of this game, scoring the go-ahead touchdown. Caden Anderson showed composure to stick in it despite some mistakes later in the game. He still was able to come back and help engineer some scoring drives for the Cowboys. Now, Eget did go out midway through the third quarter, but despite that, they were up with a 2-touchdown lead, and he goes out and they can't find a way to score at all, and also they can't prevent Wyoming from getting in the end zone 3 times, despite throwing 2 picks themselves. It is just one of those those conference games where you really don't know which way it's going to go. Expect close matchups, and sure enough, it was. San Jose State goes 2-4 now in the season, 1-1 in conference play. Meanwhile, Wyoming 3-3 on the season, 1-1 in conference play. Still very much within striking distance of any goals they want to accomplish this season for Jay Sawvell. And it's not the end for either team, but for Wyoming, their confidence has to be rolling now that they can come back from these types of games and play their best football. Meanwhile, for San Jose State, it's another crushing close game that they lose, despite Walker Eget putting up some huge stats: 295 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. It's sort of those heartbreaking losses that they gave up a pretty good lead going into halftime and get shut out in the second half. Wyoming wins this one 35-28 over San Jose State. The scoreboard, it sums up what this game was. Despite UNM defense doing their best and really coming up clutch in certain situations to keep their team in this, the lack of offense and the lack of composure from Jack Lane for New Mexico really did them in this game. Boise State looked decent. Their offense wasn't, really that dominant. Their defense was playing phenomenal. Pressured Jack Lane all night. Dylan Riley played well, but Cyrus Gaines and his physicality, just running over Jackson Eck and that Lobos linebacking core. Jack Lane has looked skittish the past 2 weeks, and this performance against Boise State was really scary. That you just felt like sort of the confidence was out for him. He throws 2 picks in this game. Never really attempted to use his feet to extend plays, and running game was not working whatsoever. And James Lobstein comes in late in this game, and he's able to get a score for the Lobos. And at the very worst case scenario, they play spoilers for everyone on the spread, and it didn't really feel like the Lobos football we've been seeing at least to start this season. Now they're now 0-2 in conference play. Looked pretty bad the past couple of games. Not completely out of the games that they've been in, just bad execution for sure. Boise State, they're rolling right now, 4-2, 2-0 in conference play. Maddox Madsen played fine, 226 yards, 2 touchdowns. The running game was effective. I think the physicality was too much for the Lobos. Riley and Gaines were able to sort of have their way running the ball, running straight down the middle, with the least amount of resistance possible. And again, New Mexico was very much in this game. It was 14-17 going into halftime, and that possession, the first drive for the Lobos coming into the third quarter, it just felt like they really couldn't rely on not only the passing, just the quarterback play from Lane. Boise State did a great job maintaining possession and really winding down that clock and ending those drives with scores on the board. For Boise State, they're very much still in contention for everything they're hoping for in this season. As for the Lobos, they really have to go back and assess how they want to move forward at the quarterback position and also their lapses in their defense. Too many times they'd clear out the middle, and that allowed Boise State to just run right all over them. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. There's 3-3 on the season, plenty of winnable games left on their calendar, but you have to feel like they need to make some serious adjustments right now if they want to get a hold of this thing and see a bowl game this season. 41-25 is your final score. Boise State over New Mexico. Were we really surprised to see this type of result from a San Diego State versus Nevada matchup? Carter Jones gets the start for the Wolfpack. Looks like Chubba Purdy's season's done, possibly for his starting role. Jones really could not do much. This is a great San Diego State defense to be facing in your first career start. Tough for them. They really couldn't get anything going all night. As for San Diego State, Jaden Denegal, another great, well-managed game, 14 for 17, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns. Lucky Sutton, 76 yards and a touchdown. And their offense is way more improved from last year. Now they just need to play effective football. They don't really need to do too much with that great defense and limit turnovers, which they do. The defense comes up big early on in the first quarter with back-to-back picks from Jones. In the second quarter, they really get rolling. 5 touchdowns unanswered. They go into halftime 35-0. Come back in the second half, they let off the gas pedal just a little bit, and the final score in this one's 44-10. I think Carter Jones will be much more improved as the weeks go by, but it's a tough first start for any quarterback. They were able to engineer a touchdown drive to end the game, but San Diego State, they are one of the top 2-3 teams in Mountain West play right now, and they're going to be tough to beat. 5-1 on the season, 2-0 in conference play. Meanwhile, Nevada, 1-6 on the season, 0-2 in conference play. Teams going in completely different trajectories. For San Diego State, everything's within reach for them, and for Nevada, it's find anything positive for them going forward. 44-10 is your final score here. San Diego State over Nevada. This was a great way to end your Saturday night or start your Sunday morning. Utah State with Bryson Barnes back under center. The first half, close, tightly contested football. Mike Alejado had another great game. 413 yards, 3 touchdowns. It felt like Alejado and that Rainbow Warriors offense was able to just pick apart the Aggies defensively. Just these little 5-8 yard out routes, good enough to keep the drives going, and they couldn't stop that all night. As for Utah State, they looked great in the first half with Barnes looking, at least early on, that he was back to his normal self, but he did go out a little bit in the second quarter going into halftime. Jacob Conover came in, and he played effectively for the time he was in. In the second half, it'd be a completely different story. It would be Utah State unable to get within scoring distance, and for Hawaii, they kept up the momentum, and they score another 20 points in the second half to pull away from this game. Hawaii is a legitimate team. They're 5-2 on the season. They're 2-1 in conference play, and you really feel like they could just take on any of these teams in Mountain West, and it's going to take a certain type of defense to be able to maintain what Alejado and that passing game is able to do to opposing defenses. Utah State very much an improved team from last year, but still have their faults, and they're still trying to work out the kinks, especially on their defense. And Barnes still probably not 100% coming back from injury, but he played decent football, and I think he'll be better in the weeks to come. Both teams can still very well write their own tickets to their postseason. Hawaii in a much better place, one game away from bowl eligibility, and very much in contention for a Mountain West title. What Hawaii was able to do to Utah State, they are the equivalent of Air Force's, rushing attack for the passing game. Alejado had over 50 throwing attempts, and these little dink and dunk passing, it's effective. Bofele Ashlock is one of the best receivers in the conference. He's reliable. 113 yards, 3 touchdowns accounted for, and Hawaii does enough defensively to keep teams on their toes, and now they're 5-2 on the season. Both teams have plenty of good football left to be played this season. I think it's going to work out for both of them in the end. 44-26 your final score. Hawaii over Utah State.